I understand who surrounds you. I understand the ideology that's just over the fence in Gaza. Yeah. I get it. I understand Hamas. And why do I know that, how they think? Because I'm from a town 30 miles north of London called Luton Town. Al-Mujahideen, who are now a prescribed terrorist organisation, well, that group's head office is in my hometown of Luton. It was in my hometown. Yeah. Some of the terrorists in jail I went to school with. I don't claim to be an angel, but I claim to have lived a real life on one of the roughest towns in Britain. But my background, so people understand, if I hadn't had that upbringing, then the first time I got a punch in the nose for talking about these issues, I'd have run away. The first death threat I got, I'd have collapsed. Yeah, it was never going to be doctors and nurses that stood up against jihadists on the streets of the UK. It took 50 years for people to start denying the Holocaust. It took a couple of days to start denying. October 7th. October 7th. Yeah, it took a couple of days. I'm a Zionist. I believe in a homeland for the Jews. So what? What's the problem? Stop apologising for it. All the Jewish groups, the Board of Deputies in the UK, they keep apologising and they refuse to stand with Israel. It's your homeland. It's historically and biblically, it's your land. It's always been your land. What's the problem? What's the argument? Don't you understand that if Israel falls, this is why I see Israel as such a key ally as well. If Israel falls, we all fall. We needed Keir Starmer. We needed him. Yeah?
In order to wake up.
In order for people to see how bad it is.
Britain could be saved.
No, Britain will be saved.
It will be saved.
It has to be saved.
Hello and welcome to a joint episode of Israel Update and Shomer Saf, Gatekeeper English, and it will be English with Hebrew subtitles on video. So if you listen to us in Hebrew and are not comfortable with English, switch to video where you will have subtitles. My guest today is Tommy Robinson. You must know who he is. Hi, Tommy.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I've seen many an interview with you, starting with the controversial Tommy Robinson. So let me give you an Israeli introduction, because I'll tell you what transpired since I said on social media that I'm going to speak with you. I put it on X, and there was an X version of standing ovation from right-wing feed. And then I got a barrage of telephones saying, look, these people are not really our friends. And where does this meet me? I interviewed Steve Bannon about 3-4 years ago. And he was enthusiastic about Israel. He said he's a Christian Zionist. And back in the day, we saw all the left-wing anti-Semitism. And we thought, look, we have allies on the right. And now I look at Steve Bannon. He's gone full Tucker Carlson anti-Semitic.
Has he?
Yeah.
I haven't followed. Steve.
He is now saying that this whole war is just a Benjamin Netanyahu personal maneuver in order to save his own seat. And these people are turning against Israel. And the whole atmosphere is turning against Israel. I looked around the internet. I couldn't find anything you said that would even smack of anti-Semitism or anti-Israelism. So I think our listeners and audience, the first thing they'd like to know is your pro-Israel stance now. Where does it come from? What is it based on?
It comes from, I understand who surrounds you. I understand the ideology that's just over the fence in Gaza. Yeah. I get it. I understand Hamas. So I think on October 8th, I made a video. I was still censored and I was deplatformed and banned from all social media when the attack happened on October 7th. But I made a quick video and I think I put it on Getter? I put it on some small little social media because that's all I had left until Elon Musk gave me back my page. And I was walking along a beach and it went viral on X because someone else uploaded it. And I said that Hamas are ISIS. Yeah, I understand them. I know how they think. And why do I know how they think? Because I'm from a town 30 miles north of London called Luton Town. Al-Mujahideen, who are now a prescribed terrorist organisation, one of the lead terrorist organisations in the world, Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza, some of the most infamous terrorists in the world, were members of this organisation. Well, that group's head office is in my hometown of Luton. It was in my hometown. Yeah. Some of the terrorists in jail I went to school with. 60% of British Muslims in prison for terrorism are ex-members of this group. I learned very early. I looked into jihad. I looked into these groups. I understood how they think. So I understand what Israel faces. Many don't. Many have no clue. I also see Israel as a key ally. It's a beacon of democracy surrounded by Sharia-driven totalitarian hellholes, to be honest, with absolute zero human rights in many of these nations, and what is it like for minorities in many of these nations. I also look, and I have faced a barrage of unfair misrepresentation by media, attacks by media for years. Remember, I raised awareness and started talking about issues that our government, my government, certainly did not want recognised. Islamic rape gangs, many of the issues I talk about and the issues I expose and discuss bring a spotlight on government failure, because it's all to do with government failure. And what Israel faces now is unfair representation, propaganda, literally from October 8th. I've just said on another interview, it took 50 years for people to start denying the Holocaust. It took a couple of days to start denying. October 7th. October 7th, yeah. It took a couple of days. So I understand there's no genocide. I understand the absolute absurdity in talking about a genocide, but it's been repeated 10,000 times. Yeah. Once it's repeated 10,000 times, it becomes a matter of fact. Now, I'm certain that your viewers and your listeners probably think the English Defence League was a far-right organisation. Let me tell you that the entire time I led the English Defence League, we have a unit within Scotland Yard called the anti-extremism unit from Scotland Yard, the specialist of the Metropolitan Police, and they categorise organisations and groups. The entire time I led the English Defence League, it was a centrist organisation. But people just now repeat it's a far-right, extremist, racist organisation because the media said it 100 times. Well, that's the same as Israel. Israel is committing a genocide. Israel and its apartheid state. All of these things I know are lies. Yeah. I first come here in 2015 or 16, and I came here because I talk about these issues, yeah? And I would be ignorant to discuss these issues with never visiting Israel. When I come here in 2015 or 16, I paid some young Arabs, because I didn't want to come and just listen to the Jewish argument. So I come here, and I paid some young Arabs in Bethlehem to take me to a Fatah-controlled refugee camp. So I risked my life. Yeah? When I come here, and I was with a school friend, Dean, Jamaican kid, and when we come out here, I said to him, mate, I've met these young Muslims. We paid them. They're going to take us into a Fatah-controlled refugee camp. We're going to spend the day there. We get to ask some questions. And we hear the big fallout. He said, I haven't come here to get killed. And the reality is, if they would have known I was Tommy Robinson, founded the English Defence League, I guess my life would have been in danger. Yeah. But I risked it to hear their story. So when I walked around this refugee camp, there's footage of me there. As I'm walking around, I meet all the children. I'm playing football with the children. And as I'm walking around, I keep asking the question, who's oppressing you? And I'm expecting him to say Israel. And this was a fourth-generation Muslim refugee. He didn't want to say Israel. He said the Palestinian Authority, which really threw me, because I didn't know much about the Palestinian Authority in 2016. So I said, the Palestinian Authority. And he said...
Did he say that on record?
I've got it on camera.
Yeah. Wasn't he scared that, the Palestinian Authority is not...
Yeah. So I've got it all on camera. And then he says, do not fund Free Palestine because the money does not come to us. Yeah, it does not come to us. And I said, what do you mean the Palestinian Authority? He said, well, I'm a fourth-generation refugee. My children will be fifth and theirs will be sixth. And as I'm walking around there, it really threw me because... And then I said, why the Palestinian Authority? And he said, because... And they had... He described them as martyrs on the walls of the houses. She blew up a bus. He done this. They're martyrs. And they explained that once they've done that, they then get money from the Palestinian Authority, which is paid to slay, which I'd never heard of, yeah? They get money then, and they get a reward for the rest of their life. So I said to my friend, we've both got children, and I felt for the children. And do you know what? It works, right? Because holding them in that position, the Palestinian Authority, keeping them... I said, where's the park? There isn't one. Where's the football pitch? There isn't one. So as I'm walking around, I wanted to give them money. When I left, I wanted to help them. Yeah? So it works. They bring European politicians into camps like that. They show them the squalor, which they're purposely held in by the Palestinian Authority, because rather than building them all villas and houses, they buy weapons and dig tunnels. So I walked around and I said to my friend Dean, that the only way out of this camp, the only way for many of these families is to go and kill a Jew. And I said to him about killing a Jew, and he corrected me. I said, so if you leave this camp and you kill a Jew, and he said, kill an Israeli. I said, what do you mean kill an Israeli? It doesn't matter if they're Jewish or not. Just kill an Israeli, you get rewarded. And that really threw me again. So all these things threw me. And then the Palestinian Authority. So I leave the camp, I go back and I look into the Palestinian Authority. And then I see that we pay them. As in we, the British taxpayers, fund the Palestinian Authority. And then you look at my government now, which is partly why I've come here. You look at my government now, and I don't want Jews in Israel or Israelis to believe that government's decision to recognise a Palestinian state that still have that pay to slay policy And they've recognised it. It's absolutely absurd. It's insanity and it's an embarrassment and humiliation to the British public. So I looked at all this. I came here to learn. I experienced a lot in that week. That week was fascinating. Probably the most fascinating week I've had in my life, yeah? As in a trip or abroad or holiday. I'll tell you the truth, back then, I used to not mind a party. And whenever I'd go away, I'd have a party. In that week, I didn't party once because I was so interested in what we're doing the next day and where we're going. And what I found, I met a girl as well, I met a young girl who had been dragged from Gaza as part of the 2005 agreement, where Jews were forcibly, and most British people don't understand this, I don't think many people understand this, that Jews who had been living there for generations, talk about genocide, Jews who had been living there for generations were dragged out of Gaza by the IDF and forcefully removed when they didn't want to be removed from their housing and their community where they've been for generations at what I'd say was a government level of thinking you can appease these barbarians, which is basically where my government are at now. So I think your government now, you have a strong government who realise you can't appease these. There's no negotiating with these people. So I learned a lot in that week. And I also approached every Arab in Israel. And I don't know if you've seen my footage this week that I've got since being here. Where I
saw your footage with the Shefi Paz. And,
okay. And that footage would shock a lot of people in the UK in the sense that there's a smear and a very successful propaganda campaign that tells people that it's Jews that are flooding Britain and flooding Europe. Yeah. And I'd say certain Jews.
It's the Jews who send the refugees or the Jews in the West are, according to this line of propaganda, they are opening the gates inside Europe, and the Jews of Israel are sending over or creating a crisis and sending refugees.
That's what's thrown at me by the ethno-nationalists. And to be honest, I think it's an easy way out for many, because to criticise Islam and talk about the Islamic demographic, it's dangerous. To criticise the Jews is not dangerous, it's quite easy, yeah? And it's also an easy way out for the Muslim community. Rather than accepting any fault within their own community, they just blame everything on Mossad.
Do you get fire for defending Israel
I get absolute hell for defending Israel.
From one side or from both sides?
From every side.
From the right and the left?
From the left, the right, and the Islamic community.
What do they say?
I'm a traitor, I'm a Zionist, I'm Mossad. And bearing in mind, like, I'm on the right side of history. I know I am, yeah? What am I defending? I'm defending a beacon of democracy, okay, that shares the same values as us. Mm-hmm. Israel shares our values. The principles and values that built Western civilization are here, yeah? The same as in Great Britain. They're not in Gaza, okay? They're not in many of the Islamic nations. So they're not my partners, okay? I understand jihad. You see the situation Israel's in. When I come here in 2016, I come here to look at how you live, because you're surrounded by jihad. So how do you survive as a nation? How do you survive as people? And I saw the bollards outside the bus stops at the time, yeah? And I thought, wow, like, we're going to have this. I know we're going to have this. You fast forward now, Christmas markets, religious festivals, we have got bollards everywhere, yeah? We are just catching up with you, understand? Yeah. And you see the way you have to survive and live your life under security with people with firearms everywhere. That's how we're going to have to live, because we've imported, and on your border, I watched a video yesterday, the unseen footage, and do you know what the shock for me? I understand them, Hamas. I know how they think. I know the hatred they have for Jews. I know the hatred they have for us. I also know that their goal is not Israel. Their goal is world domination. Their goal is New York and London. That's their goal. They're a caliphate organisation, the same as ISIS, the same as Boko Haram, the same as all these groups that share the same ideology. That is their goal. But that's not what shocked me. And I don't think that's what shocked. I think a real wake-up. I know many Jews had a wake-up on October 8th. You know? But for us in the West, we saw our universities and our capital cities taken over, week in, week out, by hundreds of thousands of very proud Hamas-supporting, terrorist sympathisers or terrorists. And what my surprise was the inability, the lack of strength from government and police, the absolute cowardice of leadership to bend the knee and allow them to take over. And what become apparent to, just so Jews understand, there's 300,000 Jews in the UK. You're now in the same position that I've been in as a working class man in Luton, who's English. I grew up in England, in Luton. When I was born in 1982, there was one mosque. There's now 45. Now, in my hometown, in 2013, I looked at the demographical projected growth forecast on the government website for the communities, the Bangladeshi and Pakistani community were going to increase by 2030, so a 17-year period. They're going to increase by 70 to 77%. The white and black community, 1.2 to 1.4%. So the Labour Party know full well in Luton, we're irrelevant. We don't keep them power. The power and the future does not lie with the non-Muslim community. It lies with the Bangladeshis and the Pakistanis. Now, what do Labour want? They want power. So they absolutely just don't care about us. And that's where the Jews are at now in Britain.
You often say that you're not against Islam as such, you're against radical Islam, radical political Islam.
No, I don't. I'll just correct you. I believe Islam is radical. I'm not against Muslims. Okay,
okay.
Muslims are people, and some of the best people I've met growing up in Luton are Muslim. Some of the people I love are Muslim.
So you're against the Muslims who want to impose Sharia law. Is that a fair definition?
That's
not against all Muslims.
I'm not. Most Muslims are cultural Muslims who don't follow the literal interpretation of the Quran. Yeah. But when they do, or they want to impose Sharia law or overthrow democracy and replace it with the Islamic supremacist ideology, we have 5,000 jihadists. Look what they done on October 7th. Yeah, we have 40,000 on the terror watch list. We have
in the whole of Britain.
In Britain, we have 40,000. 3,000 of them are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It will cost £9 billion a year. £9 billion a year. Now, when a government or a country are dealing with a small minority, you can afford these sorts of things. But that small minority keeps getting bigger and bigger. And as it gets bigger and bigger, terrorism goes up 60%, 60%. It just keeps rising. So when the current population, say we've got 40,000, if we double that population, what have we then got? 80,000.
Yeah.
How do we tackle that? How do we deal with that?
Let's start with Luton, though, because I heard you speak at the Oxford Debate Club at the Oxford University, and you gave them a tour of your childhood and coming of age in Luton, and how this problem became exacerbated before your eyes. So some of it was very personal. So for our listeners who may not have heard this, you had a cousin become a second cousin become a victim.
She was a victim of sexual rape, gangs, which we now call grooming.
At what age?
13, 14.
So what happened to her exactly?
So she was... This is the same process for all the young girls. Many girls went to school with. They get a Muslim boyfriend. They get shown interest. The Muslim boyfriend will be older. He'll treat them well, and he'll give them money. He'll give them phones. He'll give them drink. He'll give them drugs, and then it's a slow grooming process till he gets them into position, and then they're getting gang raped. Now our cousin, she woke up naked, with lots of men with beards raping her, and she ran out of the house, and she was actually. The prostitutes on the streets rang her dad. Her dad's gone to collect her. But in the end, that child will... I remember the family would lock her in the house. She'd get out the window because she needs the drugs. And by that point, then the police would just say she's a drug addict. No, she's a child who they have purposely used drugs as a weapon against to get her into a vulnerable position, to hook her on those drugs, to then have her as a prostitute.
How old were you when all this happened?
I was a similar age.
Her age?
Her age.
And is that the moment, was that the wake-up moment for you?
That was one. I had many, but I had so many. The wake-up moment for me was the Beslan School massacre. So I didn't realise that attack against her was so widespread till I went to high school, till I met other girls at high school. But I had a different view as a child. I used to view the girls that were going out with the Pakistani taxi drivers, I used to view them as slags. When I was 13, 14, I think they're slags, sleeping with older Pakistani men. Then, as I'm older now, I realise they were victims. They're children. They're being prostituted. They're being groomed. But not as a child, I didn't. I viewed it very differently. But then as I grew up, do you remember the Beslan School massacre? That was a real wake-up call for me, in the sense of...
Give us a rundown of that.
So the Beslan School massacre, I don't know how old I was. I was only young. And I remember watching as... So basically, and this is coming to the UK, I guarantee you, in Europe, a Jewish school is going to get hit. That's not me. A Jewish school is going to get hit. Yeah. Now,
God forbid.
No, it's going to get hit. They've already found plans on some Muslims years ago in London for a Jewish school. So basically, the Beslan School massacre in Chechnya, they take over a school. So loads of jihadists go in. And the thing for me watching it, the jihadists go in and the parents, think of this, picture it. The parents are outside the school, the army are there, and all the jihadists are inside the school with their children. And then they start butchering and massacring the kids. And as they're doing that, I can still see the parents falling on their knees outside the school because they can't get in there, and they're listening to the screams of their children. That horror I can see it now. And as I watched it, I thought, what is this? Yeah, because this isn't one lone madman. Yeah, this is a whole group of men. So that really was my wake up to then thinking, I need to know why they think like that and how they think they can justify an attack like that. So that was my wake up to start looking into Islam and these groups. And about 2 weeks after this, as I'm going down this rabbit hole, I see in my hometown of Luton, a group of Muslims in a chicken shop talking on YouTube who say that an attack like that would be justified in a British school. And when I saw that I then saw the man who said that was a man called Saif al-Islam, which translates as Sword of Islam. He was a second in command of al-Mujahideen, which then put me down the rabbit hole. And I'll just be honest, I as a young man, full of adrenaline, I was a young English lad. I'm from Luton Town. Luton's a rough town. I was gravitated towards the football scene of young men who go to football together, and I saw them as our enemy. And we need to confront these.
And that's when you flirted with the BNP, the
2004,
British
British
National Party.
So we at that
who are really radical, who are racists.
Yes,
and they only let white people into their ranks, and
they do, which I didn't.
And this is something that you keep being reminded of when people say he's an extremist.
Yeah.
They say, remember, he was with the Nazis back then.
What they don't pick up on, the BNP, when I was 21 years old, this was 21 years old. So at this point, I'm looking at this group, I'm looking at Islam, and I'm thinking, I know about the rape gangs going on everywhere in the town, and I'm looking for who's talking about it. No one's talking about it. The BNP were. The BNP were the only group, and then when I went online, then the BNP come to us as young football hooligans in Luton because they knew we were having a clash with these gangs. And they set up a meeting, and we went along to the meeting, and when we got to the meeting, and there's a leaked list of BNP membership, say from 2002 to 2008 or something like that. It shows that I joined and I never rejoined. Yeah, so I joined, and this is actually documented. There's a far left network called Searchlight, and Searchlight are an anti-racism extreme group. Yeah. Now they document when the MIGs fell out with the BNP. The MIGs is Luton's football hooligan element. That's us as youngsters. Just being honest, the MIG stands for Men in Gear. Yeah, we were known as the Men in Gear, which is young men who go football together and travel around the country.
And often look for trouble.
I'll just be honest, yes. Yeah. And remember, I'm a 42-year-old man now. I'm not 18 years old anymore. I'm a different man now than I was when I was young, but I guess I found my culture and identity.
Just as an asterisk to what you're saying, I spent 1 year in England as a child because my father was on sabbatical, and there was a cup final, and Leeds United lost it, and the centre of London was just trashed.
Yeah.
We went all around. It was all broken glass. It was scary.
It was scary. Well, football, just so your audience understand, because they probably think it's moronic, yeah? And I think now as an older man, yeah, it is moronic. But as a young man, it's not going to... The groups of men don't go to football and just attack random people. It's 20 young men, and then there's 20 young men from another club who are quite happy to have a rivalry with them. And there's a punch-up, no weapons, no kicking, people are jumping all over them, just men facing each other and seeing who's the toughest. Now... It sounds ridiculous now.
A good old-fashioned
punch-up. And Luton's a rough town.
Amateurish MMA.
Yeah, and I don't claim to be an angel, but I claim to have lived a real life on one of the roughest towns in Britain. But my background, so people understand, if I hadn't had that upbringing, then the first time I got a punch in the nose for talking about these issues, I'd have run away. The first death threat I got, I'd have collapsed. Yeah, it was never going to be doctors and nurses that stood up against jihadists on the streets of the UK. It was never going to be them. But with the BNP, I joined. They set up a meeting. We turned up to the meeting, and this is documented. Yeah, when the MIGs fell out, and when the lads turned up, they said, "He can't come in. He can't come in." We said, "What do you mean?" And it was the non-white lads, because Luton's football hooligan element is very diverse. It's very multicultural. Yeah. They can't come in.
They're multiculturalism for you.
Well, Luton is, yeah. For me, and I get a lot of flack.
You grew up in a very diverse neighbourhood.
I don't believe multiculturalism's failed. I believe Islam's failed. I think it's unfair to blame the Hindus, the Jews, the St. Lucians, the Jamaicans. I think it's totally unfair to blame them for failure in integration, because they've all integrated. Yeah. The only one section of society that hasn't integrated is the Islamic community. Not every one of them, but per se, it's the Islamic community. So yeah, the MIGs, we set the meeting up, they said they can't come in, and at that point we said, you're not having a meeting. And the BNP didn't stand again in Luton after that. Yeah, they didn't. We said, you're not using the pub, lads. Yeah. This is done. And I wasn't aware that Nick Griffin founded the National Front or was a leader of the National Front. I'll be honest, at 21, even when I started the English Defence League when I was 25, yeah, I didn't know left-wing, right-wing politics. I didn't care. My passion was making money. I was a young man. When I started the English Defence League in 2009, I had 7 houses and 2 businesses. I was doing very well as a young man, a successful young man. And then there was a soldiers' homecoming, and I realised that enough was enough. Everyone has their breaking point, and Luton had their breaking point in 2009 when our soldiers were attacked.
So your activism started really young.
Yep.
It overtook your career in all other areas, and now there was this huge rally of about 100,000 people, they say, in London.
Let me show you. Let me just show, while we're on here, because you can put this into this. I think you should definitely put this into this. Just so I want you to watch this footage.
Show me.
And tell me. We'll add this into there.
Is that 100,000, you mean?
Demonstration, see from there?
Yeah.
Pull up. Watch how big this goes, yeah? Watch this. Stop. That's not 100,000 people.
Yeah.
That is the biggest demonstration in British history.
Okay, let's have that on tape after.
I'll send you that.
Yeah.
Clip. That is the biggest demonstration in British history. Now,
you know, in Israel, when they see a left wing, when the media sees left wing demonstrators, every 500 are considered 100,000. And when we have on the right have something like 100,000, they say hundreds or a few thousand.
They just said they said that was 100,000, and last week they said there was 500,000 out for Gaza.
Yeah,
for Palestine, right? 500,000.
Yeah,
and 500,000 didn't even fill like one of the roads that we filled the whole for miles.
We know that trick, but Tommy, so you're starting as a lad in Luton, and some of the early skirmishes. Do you ever imagine leading such a huge crowd?
No, but I wasn't ready to lead a huge crowd. I feel like I've done my apprenticeship.
Yeah, and you're ready now?
I'm ready now. I feel like, look, I've been in some dark places over the years. I've had 12 Ottoman government threats to my life. 6 Muslims are doing 30 years for planning to kill me. I've been in and out of prisons for my work and my activism. At times, I've struggled to deal with being Tommy Robinson. At times, I've been in some dark places. But I feel like now I'm in a position where I've learned a lot, a hell of a lot.
What do you regret, Tommy?
I don't regret anything. What I regret is not being physically fit the entire time, because I think physical fitness is the answer. It's my medicine. I don't even regret the mistakes I've made. Look, sometimes I'm an impulsive man. I'm an impulsive man, and when I'm under attack, I feel I need to defend myself. Yeah. And at times I've made mistakes in how I do that.
Nothing you were indicted for you regret?
Oh, my indictments are absolute nonsense. No,
all of them?
I've faced total lawfare. Yeah, and even the imprisonments. So even, say, for example, recently, I was in prison for 18 months for making a documentary and a film called Silenced. I got given an injunction saying that if I ever showed the public the evidence that was in court, I would go to prison.
Isn't there a law in England that you can't discuss in the media ongoing trials? Is that not the problem?
No, that's nonsense. That's so a judge has no power to put a reporting restriction on information that's already in the public domain. Fact. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been in prison time and time again, but the most recent one, 18 months for making a film. But I released the film, so I knew I'd go to jail. Yeah. So when I released the film, I knew I'd go to jail. I don't regret any of it, because every second of everything that's happened chisels your character. Yeah. It makes you the man you are. So I've learned a lot. I've held over 80 national demonstrations. Our demonstrations now, the ones you've recently watched, we've perfected it. We know how to stop infiltration. We know how to stop violence. We know how to stop trouble. Do not allow alcohol. Do not allow face coverings. But this has all been a learning process. When I first held my first demonstration, I'd never held a demonstration. I didn't. Men were turning up from everywhere. We didn't have stewards. We didn't police it ourselves. We relied on the police to police it. When you do that, there can be clashes and skirmishes. In our meetings now with the police, we tell them to stay away. Stay away. Let us police.
Because you have your own security.
We police it ourselves. Because if you come in to police it, it can allow for provocation. Some of your police officers. It allows situations. So what we'd ask the police on our when we sit down and work, we work with the police now. We have a good relationship. When we look at a demonstration, where will there be a flashpoint? As in, where are our supporters going to come very close to your officers? If it's at this junction, we'll put 20 security in front of your officers. We don't want a chance. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in how to, you see, at each demonstration I watched within the English Defence League, You can Google this organisation called the Special Demonstration Squad. It was a government agency group who infiltrate demonstrations and provoke violence, like January 6th. Yeah. But this is real. Yeah. And they don't, and then they want to discredit and take away the legitimacy of your argument or message by portraying you as hooligans. So when I started the English Defence League, we walked straight into it.
Oh, this is, we know it from everywhere. We know it in Israel from Shabak on the eve of a murder of a prime minister. There were agents, provocateurs inside the radical right in order to delegitimize it. But you know, this huge demonstration, I'll give you the Israeli/Jewish angle on that. There is a huge war of ideas worldwide about Zionism. Is Zionism, is Israel the victimizer and Muslim Palestinians the victims, or is it the other way around? So you know, universities, you saw the demonstrations for Hamas in Columbia campus the very next day.
Because you're 20 years behind the battle. So
yeah, we know
Israel's allowed. You've lost the battle. Qatar, Iran. These countries have been funding this very successfully. In the universities, look at the universities in the UK. So if you just look at Hizb Ut-Tahrir, who are now prescribed, but they weren't. They are the Islamic Society of each university for the last 2 decades. Yeah. So the alliance between the left and the Islamists has been growing. Yeah, unchallenged, and the educated system in the UK, Columbia, in the West, across the whole of the West, are coming out hating Jews and hating Israel. Now, my view, when we talk about Zionism, and I get lots of accusations about it, I'm a Zionist. I believe in a homeland for the Jews. So what? What's the problem? Stop apologising for it. All the Jewish groups, the Board of Deputies in the UK, they keep apologising and they refuse to stand with Israel. It's your homeland. It's historically and biblically, it's your land. It's always been your land. What's the problem? What's the argument? There's 55 Islamic countries. 55. What can't the Jews have this little spot of land? And let's not pretend it's even about the land. Mein Kampf, Hitler's book, is 7% Jew hatred. The Quran's 11%. Muhammad hated the Jews. It's just a fact. We've got to be able to talk facts. So whose land is this? It's Jewish land. I visited Jerusalem today. If Jerusalem was under control of who? The Palestinian Authority. Would it be free for all other religions to go and practice? Would it be free? No, it wouldn't. No. So let's stop kidding, and also stop. And I get frustrated with the British. I get frustrated with the accusations because I just think, don't you understand that if Israel falls, this is why I see Israel as such a key ally as well. If Israel falls, we all fall. Well, you think they're going to stop?
How would that happen?
How would it happen?
Yeah.
Well, say they won the war. Say the surrounding Islamic nations won the war, as in obliterated the Jews of Israel, which they'll take your wives as sexual slaves, as they told you in the 6 Day War, all these things. If they were successful in that, they stopped then, do they? They stop. That's it. That's all they wanted, was it? Come on, man. They told us on October 8th, New York, London, we're coming.
But they'll try, regardless of the war in Israel, they'll try to do that. But why was this demonstration so important for Israelis? Because our counterpoint of view, which our prime minister has been trying to say all over. You've probably seen one of his speeches at the UN,
I think it's very strong.
Congress. And what he's been saying is, our war is your war. Don't you understand that our enemies are your enemies? In his last speech at the UN, he said, people in London, people in Melbourne, people in New York are asking, what does this war in Gaza have to do with me? Well, he said everything, because these same people are trying to take down your country. They're shouting death to the West. They're shouting death to America. And what we're asking when we're looking at that demonstration, are the British beginning to understand that? Do they understand that we are the front line in the same war against the barbarians out to destroy the West?
So the vocal minority have been given the voice for so long. Since October 7th, every week they took over our capital cities. Every week. If you follow the history, which many in the British audience are, is I come back from Spain. I was outcast. I'd left. I was deplatformed. I was censored. I didn't have a voice. I was in Spain. Elon Musk gave me back my voice. Picked me up off from the ground. I flew straight back to the UK. October 7th, every week there are pro-Hamas rallies. They were going to target Armistice Day, our sacred day, where we remember our armed forces. I organised for my first time. I made a video saying, British men, we're not letting them do this. We're coming to London. 4,000 or 5,000 men turned up. Yeah? And we protected our cenotaph. Rather than them, because week in, week out, they've desecrated our cenotaph. They attack everything we hold dear, every value we hold dear. Yeah? They took over. After that, there was an anti-Semitism rally that I went to report on. Don't know if you remember the video. I went to report. The police come into the cafe. You need to leave London. I'm here to do my job. I'm a journalist. I'm here to do my job. I was then forcefully arrested, handcuffed, attacked with pepper spray by the police, and I was charged. Why did this happen? So visually, the videos went viral everywhere. It happened because then the police had a charge in order to give me fraudulent bail conditions, which they did. I was banned from London. Why did they ban me from London? Because if there was one person that was going to galvanise British support against Hamas and against the pro-Palestinian cause, it was me. Yeah? So they took me totally out of the equation for 6 months. Well, after 6 months, the minute I had my... And I kept taunting them, I kept saying to them, as soon as I got my not guilty at court and I was freed and the judge recognised that it was unlawful, everything they done was unlawful, they limited it for 6 months. Straight away then, I went for a meeting with the police. And I sat down with the police and said, right, you can't stop me now. Yeah, you can't stop me now. Yeah, we're fed up of the terrorists. We're fed up of the pro-Palestinians. We're fed up of what they're doing in our capital city. We are, and to Israelis and to Jews, don't believe that's how the British public think. Don't think it is. Trust me, they don't. What you saw on September 13th is the silent majority refusing to be silent. The Star of David has welcomed our demonstrations. Okay, we're pro-Israeli. We're pro-Israel. We understand. And I've been hitting my head against a wall for a decade, trying to educate the British public and wake them up. They're awake now. Trust me, they're awake.
So take me, I don't need the head of Jeremy Corbyn, but take me into the head of Keir Starmer. What is he thinking? He's from the elites. This is a guy from the upper class. What is he thinking? He must not be, for grooming gangs, right?
What he's thinking is appeasement and block vote and his future. So if you look at our last election, 5 seats were won by pro-Hamas MPs. Yeah? 5 seats. Yeah. As independents. Now, those pro-Hamas MPs, or the Muslim vote, would always have usually gone to Labour. These individuals have took it away from Labour. Now, why did they take away from Labour? Why did they stand as independents? Because Labour wasn't anti-Israel, anti-Jew enough for them. So there was a separation. What Keir Starmer's now realising is he needs to win back the Muslim vote. Has he win back?
So it's just pragmatic.
It's power.
What does he believe? Because I heard, I was at a conference with a British intellectual yesterday, and he said, every time journalists want to embarrass Keir Starmer, they ask him, what is a woman? And he cannot answer that question.
Because he still wants to appease a section of his support base that are of that mindset.
So, look, here's the danger, Tommy, because... And here's why I think Israelis should support the forces in nation states who want to limit immigration. Well, because we are in danger of being engulfed by a pincer movement. On the one hand, you have the woke pro-Islamist elites. On the other hand, you now have the Tucker Carlsons and the traditional right-wing racists who are anti-Semitic. And here's how they're going to frame the issue. They are going to say the Jews in Europe are for unlimited immigration. The Israelis are producing mass Muslim immigration out of the Middle East because they're creating trouble. And here you are, the Jews. It's the Jews on both sides. They are the problem.
Well, when I hear this argument, it's like, no, Israel was formed in 1948. We've got 1,400 years to look at what Islam does with conquest. There's 1,400 years of history. Islam has never, ever peacefully coexisted. Before the Jews had Israel, it's never peacefully coexisted. Now, I think what Minister Chickley, I'm very grateful and honoured that he's...
We have to say to our viewers and listeners that you are here in Israel as a guest of the Minister of Diaspora and Combating Anti-Semitism, Amichai Chickley.
I am, and it's very brave what he's done. And I think it's very important what he's done. In the sense, and I know that Santiago was invited from Vox here recently, what we did at our last event was we invited leaders of the populist anti-immigration parties to talk in London, because this isn't a British issue. And I think that it's important that Israel are aligned with these groups on this as a right-wing conservative group, because the truth is there are some organisations like the Board of Deputies who are far left, who are establishment, who are pro-immigration. That does not represent Jews. I've just walked through the market in Jerusalem today, and the amount, the amount of British Jews. Wait till you see the video. I couldn't walk through the market.
I saw the video.
No, there's a video.
Invectives against Keir Starmer.
Oh, no, but there's a video coming that's 25 minutes long of literally every single young British Jew, they're all from Britain, coming up to me saying that the Board of Deputies do not speak for us. So for too long, the voice, whether it be the ADL, whether it be the Board of Deputies, they have been given the voice as though they're representative of all Jews. They're not. Every British Jew I know is a patriot. They're a patriot. They're great people. They're not raping their way through our country. They're not selling heroin. They're not planting bombs. They're great British patriots. And the problem our country has now, which we really need to wake up to, is Jews don't feel safe. They're leaving. They're the best taxpayers, the hardest workers, the most educated. What you're going to replace them with? The garbage coming from the Middle East. That's what we've got. That's what's happening. So I think that Europe is at a real crossroads. And I think that the decent British hard-working working class don't hate Jews. So what you saw... we had, 2 years ago, we sat down and I brought together 15, whether you want to call them influencers, podcasters, TikTokers. We all sat down and said that British culture is under threat. That's a reality. We know that now, yeah? The country can see it. If you change the culture, you change the politics. So let's not try and set up a political party with £200 million because we haven't got it and it's not going to happen. But if we can give back a sense of identity to the public, which we've lost, a sense of community, which we've lost. If we can unite this kingdom and unite all the groups in this kingdom together under a British values and British cultural identity, then we can shift the politics in this country very fast. Yeah? And if you look at what we've done in 2 years, you talk about September 13th, the videos you've just seen, we're 2 years in. Yeah? It's working. We've totally shifted it. We've shifted the discussion on mass deportations for Islamic radicals and jihadists. The topic of conversation has totally moved. What you saw on September 13th is the silent majority refuse to be silent now. And we've done it through culture, identity, celebration, music.
But immigration continues at a pace of about 700 people a day from the Middle East and Africa. And we all thought that Brexit would solve that problem.
But Brexit's never been implemented. But we haven't had a government.
Because there's still a covenant that subdues Britain to the European Court of Human Rights.
I think you've got the same problem with your Supreme Court, no?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It's the same problem. We have corrupt judiciaries controlled by mafias.
Yeah, but
the same as in America.
But this is I don't have the right British term for it. That you give jurisdiction. That's a term to a European Court of Human Rights, which does not allow you to control immigration. And I'm asking you, Tommy, since you are you're an activist and a journalist. The way that you are framed as a radical extremist, former Nazi, all that prevents coalitions with the center, which is the aim of the left.
We are the center.
So we are the mainstream. You are the center.
We are the mainstream. They managed to successfully when they had us.
So you feel that you have been legitimized in the center?
Yeah, we're winning. They've lost.
So Britain could be saved?
No, Britain will be saved. It will be saved. It has to be saved. There's no option. There's no option. And it was always going to happen. There was always going to be an uprising. I can tell you now, my finger's on the pulse. I can tell you by the reception I receive everywhere I go. Yeah, Britain's awake. Britain is awake, and we are bordering. I'd say that this period you're looking at now, whether it be the raise the colours, whether it be the demonstration of, we started with 30,000, we went to 100,000, we went to 200,000, we've gone to millions. Yeah, wait till our next event.
Is this solution going to be peaceful, or is this going to be civil war?
The minute a European government is elected, which tries to enforce the law and the mandate that the British public or the European public want, which is protection and deportations against the millions of migrants that have illegally entered Europe, then they're going to riot. We're going to riot, they're going to riot. We know you can't enforce a law against them. We know you can't. And at that point, there's going to be chaos. But that's not a chaos that we want. We either bring this problem to it either comes to a forehead, it comes to a head now, or we don't win. And there's the demographical change.
And that would be violent. In the end,
they will commit violence. Look what they're doing week in, week out. They're already committing violence. Look at the synagogue attack last week. There's violence week in, week out. Whether it be the Nice attack, whether it be the Blackland Theatre, whether it be Westminster Bridge, whether it be Ariana Grande, the enemy are here. We're at war.
What would you say to the British Board of Deputies who have attacked Minister Shikli for inviting you?
I'd say that they have aligned themselves with pro-Palestinian voices, and many of the groups that they have worked with call quite clearly, quite loudly, from the river to the sea. They have sold out their own community, yeah? Not me. And if they want to be weak, if they want to be the establishment, you do that, but you are absolutely forfeiting the rights and the protection of Jews in Britain. The time for weakness and cowardice is not now. And unfortunately, the Board of Deputies are very weak and they are cowards. And to throw the accusations against me, unfortunately, you're at a crossroads here where People are being radicalized against Jews and against Israel with lots of propaganda. Yeah, if you don't, I don't really care what the board deputies say against me. It's not going to stop my work. I do my work because it's right. I do my work because I'm on the right side. Yeah, and I know they're not representative of the mainstream British Jewish community. I know that. And the same way that the establishment figures in my community are not representative of the British community. Yeah, there's a total separation of the so-called voices. Who voted for them to be the voice of the British Jews? Who? Who did they talk for? They want a two-state solution. All they've ever done is attack Israel. They attack Israel. Do you know when they hold a rally? They're too scared to even say, we're pro-Israel. Well, you can be scared. I'm pro-Israel. I'm not scared. And I think that the majority of the British public need to understand Israel are our allies. Yeah? And don't be afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't care how much backlash I get.
Is there a future for Jews in Britain? I saw 10
my-
years ago. You screened at the Oxford University debate
Yisrael
club.
Shalom.
You screened a video of a Jew in Luton who said he's going to make Aliyah and come to Israel because it becomes unbearable because he gets bricks thrown through.
Do you know
his
what happened to him?
window? What happened with him?
He was persecuted to death.
After
that video, he died.
he died.
He died. Let me tell you what happened to him, because I tried to make it into a film called Shalom, because his name was Yisrael Shalom. So when he died, he left keys to his house, and his sister rang me up and said, "I've been told to contact you, Tommy." So I went to his house, and when I went to his house, I walked around his house and I videoed. She said, "You will know what to do." And when I went to his house, I walked around and I videoed, and he had a letter he wrote to the Queen. Joe, he wrote to everyone. He wrote begging letters for safety. Do you know what the advice of the council was? Move to a Jewish area. Imagine telling anyone else, move to a Jewish area. Your solution to him being attacked as a visible Jew, because he only faced the attacks as a visible Jew when he lost his driving license and had to walk the streets. Now, they told him to move to a Jewish area. Now, I started making it into a film, but I had two colleagues who used to work for me who were working with a group who worked with the Board of Deputies called Hope Not Hate, who are an establishment group who totally attack us. Now, they kept all the paperwork. So for me to put my name to anything, I have to be 100% bulletproof. They took every bit of paperwork from that house and I couldn't get access to it. I'm so disappointed because I owed it to Yisrael Shalom to tell his story. He knew, and when I look at, I don't know if you're aware of the Jew who was kidnapped in Paris, kidnapped for 30 days and dumped dead on the street. These are sorts of crimes you think are happening in Afghanistan. Not in Paris, not in London. This Jewish man in London was persecuted to death. Now, I've just walked through a market today. Do you know how many Jews come up to me who have left London and who are from Golders Green, who have said, and I said, "What's your future?" They said, "We don't have a future in London." Do you know how sick that is? To think that an entire community of people, and what's happened today or yesterday, Jews have been told they can't come and watch a football team in Birmingham because they're not safe. Now, what do you think Britain looks like in 20 years? Not just for Jews, though. That's what the British public need to understand. First comes Saturday, then comes Sunday. The Jews are first, then the Christians. So people understand it's an open saying from the jihadists.
So do Jews have a future in Britain, in your opinion?
In my opinion, revolutions come in, cultural revolution, not violent revolution. In my opinion, the silent majority will stand. We will stand with Jews in Britain. We will not allow them. The same way when Hindus come under attack in Leicester. I get a lot of accusations thrown at me, "Oh, you're doing it because you're getting paid." No, I'm not doing it because I'm getting paid. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. When Hindus come under attack in Leicester, Hindus are not a violent community. Never have been. Yeah, it's the Islamic community are violent and hostile. And so I just come on the right side. So I think Jews have a future in Britain, but we are running out of time. There needs to be a mass awakening right now. Do you see by the time the next election comes, which is in 3 years' time, we needed Keir Starmer. We needed him. Yeah?
In order to wake up.
In order for people to see how bad it is. In order for people to see that. You know what? The phrase now, two-tier policing, which is part of British vocabulary, it's what I saw my whole life. As a young Englishman, as a minority to a Muslim community, the police don't deal with them. But now what I saw and what I talked about, I dug up me talking about it in 2004. Yeah. Now, Suella Braverman started talking about it. Politicians, the media are talking about it because they saw it after October 7th. They saw that they're flying Hamas flags, Hezbollah flags. They were calling, Hizb ut-Tahrir, under a banner calling for Muslim armies, stood on the capital city of London calling for jihad. What did the Metropolitan Police Force do? They put out a statement on X saying there's plenty of different meanings to jihad.
Yeah, we know that from Obama.
Well, come on. But this cowardice, this isn't the future. The future is strong leadership. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, I know some people would disagree. But when it comes to politics, no one's going to agree on everything. He's a strong leader. He's a strong leader. Donald Trump's a strong leader. The future of Europe belongs to strong leaders, strong men. It belongs with borders. It belongs with nationalism. And I really hope, which we done on September 13th, we attempted to unite many of those European groups under one banner. Our group was called Unite the Kingdom. Our next event will be called Unite the Kingdom, Unite the West. We'd love Minister Chickley to be talking at our next event. I've come here to make friends, and I think we all need to make friends across Europe for every group and every people that want to protect Western civilization, because we're all at risk.
Last question, Tommy. Are you going to run for politics?
I don't want to run for politics. That's my answer. I don't know. I'm not going to say I never will. I don't want to. I see that my power I like changing opinion. I like making people think. I really enjoy my documentaries, and they are now finally getting the recognition or the views that they should have always got. If you want to watch my films, you can see them at trfilms.co.uk. I've done a 5-part series called The Rape of Britain. Elon Musk shared one of my films. It got 40 million views. I've made many documentaries. Hope Not Hate, who are the group in bed with border deputies. The reason why they hate me is because I've exposed them all. I exposed the BBC already in a documentary called Panodrama. It's absolutely ruined them. The lead head of that program lost his job because I covertly recorded them making things up. Yeah? Fake news. So, and my next documentary is called Labour's Muslim Rape Gangs. I'm going after Labour because they are Labour's Muslim rape gangs. So let's not pretend it. They cover up for them because they want power. They are more interested in power than protecting a generation of England's daughters. So, but to people who don't, when I usually talk, it's very depressive because the country's in a very bad place. But something huge has happened. I can only explain it that something massive is happening. There's a mass awakening. It's totally underway. Nothing can stop what's currently underway in Great Britain. The public are awake. People aren't going to be silenced. Prison hasn't deterred us. Threats don't deter us. Your lies and your smears, whether it be the board of deputies, whether it be mainstream journalists, it doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work.
Tommy Robinson, thank you very much for this candid interview.
Cheers. Thank you.